This week, I have the pleasure of interviewing Dawn Stringer. She has actually just been crowned Mrs. Texas International, which I am so excited for you about this. But I wanted to kind of put it over to you and let you kind of share your story, make an intro, and we'll just kind of start from there.
Great. Yes, like you said, I'm Dawn Stringer. I am 33 years old, and after my third try, I was able to snag the title of Mrs. Texas International. I'm not Texas homegrown. I was raised in South Carolina, and I've lived in several different states, but I love the Lone Star State. I love the pride, and I love that it's a melting pot of cultures and people, and it's a really wonderful place to live. There's a lot to offer here. My platform, which is a huge part of the international organization, they really emphasize the women's platforms, is melanoma awareness, prevention, and early detection. And that's because early detection saved my life. I was diagnosed with melanoma, which is the deadliest form of skin cancer just 2 years ago. It was almost exactly 2 years ago, about two
Wow.
years and a month. And at the time, I had a 2 year old and like a 6 month old baby. So it was really scary hearing those words
Mhm.
when I'm looking at these little boys, not knowing how long I'm going to be here for them. And my husband, who I love dearly and I've been with for 10 years now. So after getting surgery, which your dermatologist gets you into surgery really quickly when you have that diagnosis to see if it has spread and things like that, we were very grateful to get all of the cancer out. So I have been cancer free since then. And
Good.
even though my journey wasn't very long, I've really made it my mission and it's part of my life, with or without a crown, to make sure people know that they are at risk no matter what skin tone you are, what gender you are. We all have skin, and the sun is part of our life. And we have cumulative damage whether we're in the car or walking the dog. So that has really motivated me and become part of me. And I'm excited to share that with the international judges, which I'll be competing for Mrs. International in July.
That's so exciting. It's coming up so
Thank you.
quickly, for one, which is crazy.
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
it feels quick.
but it's going to be such a wonderful experience too. I feel I can't wait to hear all about it when you're done and all of the things that you get to do throughout the week and everything. Um, Going back to your diagnosis, what prompt did you go to the dermatologist? Can you tell us a little bit about like how you got diagnosed or what led you to that and how it kind of happened?
Yeah, so there's not really a right way to go about it. Everyone that has had skin cancer, they have a moment of, I had no idea, because it doesn't always hurt. It's not always obvious. I didn't have like a big, ugly black mole on my body. It was a flat freckle. So essentially, going back in time, the first time I was ever in a tanning bed, I was 14 years old. So I
Gosh,
never
that's
had.
cool.
Yes, yes. As you know, women of the 90s, born in the 90s, raised in the early 2000s, a lot of us have that story. And I remember laying out on my roof as a teenager trying to get tan.
Mhm.
And I have a little spray tan on right now, but I'm very fair skinned. I have blue eyes and blonde eyebrows, and it was doing a lot of damage to my skin. And even if I had a more olive skin tone, it would have been doing a lot of damage. I
Mhm.
had never been to a dermatologist for an annual skin check, which I'm going to urge all of your viewers and listeners to make this as important as your yearly physical or your dental cleanings. This is a part of your health maintenance that you should be doing every single year. With my platform, I would love to move mountains and make legislation changes and more governor proclamations. I've had a couple, I'd love more. But I always say if I can get one person to schedule their skin check, that is enough for me, because that is truly what saved my life. Like I mentioned, my youngest was only about 6 months old. We had moved to Texas from another state that we were living in at the time. My husband is a Texas guy, so he has those Texas roots. He's very excited to be Mr. Texas. Um,
That-
we love that. But something in my gut, it was truly a gut feeling. That is the only way I can describe it. There was a spot on my right leg right on in the front of my thigh that when I would get in the sun or a tanning bed, because I was still doing that, which I'm ashamed of, but it's true. Um, it would get a little inflamed and it was a flat freckle. It wasn't raised or anything. And I just noticed it would get a little irritated. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's, whatever, something they can just shave off. So
Mhm.
something told me I need to get this checked. And so when we moved here, I called a dermatologist, and they kind of have a reputation of being difficult to get into. I was in there within a couple weeks.
Wow.
So that is definitely a misconception. If you can't get in somewhere, they want to check your skin
Mhm.
and they will. So just make sure you tell them, I want to get my skin checked. And the first thing they asked me, have you had your annual skin checks? And I said, what is that? So they took the biopsy then. So it was truly a gut feeling about a spot that looked different. And
Mhm.
you'll hear dermatologists talk about the ugly duckling. So if you have a freckle or a mole or a spot, it might not have color. It might be red, it might be white, it might be black. If it's an ugly duckling, you should have your dermatologist look at it.
Mhm.
So I had an ugly duckling and it was melanoma.
It's so interesting too that you said, we should all be getting skin checks every year because I'm not gonna lie, this is something that I've been putting off, not for a specific reason, not because I'm scared or anything like that. I keep saying I'm gonna go and then life happens and I forget and I don't make the appointment. And I've been doing that for the last year now. So after this, I'm definitely gonna call and get it on the books because I've been putting it off. But something I was reading about the other day is you can actually have melanoma like on the base of your foot, like on the bottom of your foot, under your fingernails, like places that I didn't realize. I always kind of suspected, oh, it's just places that have been fully exposed, like your chest or your arms that are, in the sun every day. But I was reading that you could have that melanoma in places that you would never expect either, which I find really interesting also.
Absolutely. And the ones that you're talking about, those are often found in people of color.
Mm,
And something about people of color who are diagnosed with melanoma, it's generally in later stages because they didn't catch it as early as someone with lighter skin might catch it. So the survival rate drastically decreases when it's caught in later stages. So absolutely, if you have a spot, it could be on the palm of your hand, the sole of your foot. I have nails on right now, but when you get your skin checked, you should not have your nails on. Make sure you take your toenail polish off. The Melanoma Research Foundation all month, or actually all year, they have a Get Naked campaign, and that's exactly what it is
right.
fully naked, shave besides your hair from head to toe. They will check your scalp too, naked nails, naked toenails, and make sure because you could be born with a spot that develops into melanoma. Melanoma is generally caused by UV damage, but it can be in your genetic DNA. So it is very important to get naked head to toe and let your dermatologist know of any spots and just have them look at it. If they don't want to take a biopsy, but you are very suspicious, they will take a biopsy and send it to the lab. I have a
Mhm.
spot on my hip that my dermatologist insists is fine. And she said, look, if you're still anxious about it in a few months, because since I have a history, I have to go every few months, she's
Mhm.
like, we'll take it just to give you some peace of mind. So yeah, it can be on the palms of your hands. That's actually the kind of melanoma I think that took Bob Marley's life.
Wow.
That yes. So I forget exactly what it's called, but it was that kind of melanoma.
That's so scary. And probably, it's funny because as we get older, I think when we're younger, at least for me, when I was younger in my 20s and stuff, you don't really realize how fragile life is and how important it is to be healthy until maybe we get older or something like this happens where it's like such a life-altering moment that causes you to just, I'm sure, change your mindset and change your thinking entirely. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the emotions that you went through and maybe, the bravery that it took to start speaking out about it so that maybe you could help somebody else?
It is a little daunting because I know as a teenager, I wouldn't have listened because I wanted to look tan. And that's just the matter of the fact. I didn't care at the time. Oh, I'll deal with that later when I'm older. It'll be fine. It won't be that bad. But it could have killed me.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it now. So really I use my scar to tell the story because it's a little jarring. It's about that long.
Mhm.
And they took a big chunk of skin and at first, I had never had a surgery like this that wasn't like, well, I've never had a surgery really like that at all. And
Mhm.
it almost felt like a form of self harm. And that might be a hot take, but I was looking down at my leg when it was done and it was shaped different because they had to put it back together when taking a big chunk of skin out to get
Right.
that cancer out. And looking down was someone else's leg, it wasn't mine.
Right.
So that was kind of a strange emotional roller coaster because while I was so grateful that all the cancer was out, I had that feeling of, why did I do this to myself? I
Mhm.
did do it to myself. My decisions got me there, but
Right.
also realizing how blessed I am to have the diagnosis that I did have. But that still doesn't mean I don't have a story to tell. So, my nieces and nephews, if I hear them say, I don't need sunscreen, I show them my scar. I'm like, are you
Mhm.
sure? Are you
Yeah.
sure? So all I can do is share my story and try to hit home with, especially young women who are keeping up with beauty standards. Luckily, we have a lot more products at our fingertips to achieve the looks that we want
Mhm.
than we did, 20 years ago. And I'm really grateful we have things like Amazon and a lot of online shopping where you can buy self tanners and things like that. Because I'm always self tanned. I still like to look tan, and
Me
there is a little imposter syndrome in that too. Because
too.
I feel like I'm perpetuating a beauty standard that's unhealthy, but it isn't unhealthy if you do it the right way.
Right. Right. I think that's super important to speak on because I have felt the same way. I've gotten really into skincare in the last few years, and I've been educated by my esthetician on all the sun damage that I had on my face, and I've been working on peels and things like that. And I'm starting to see like sunspots and sun damage pop up on my hands, and it's from years and years and years of just not protecting my skin. And it's almost to the point, well, obviously I'm going to wear sunscreen from now on, but like it's very hard to get the damage that's already been done to go away now. I wish that we would have known a little bit more growing up about the damages of UV and all of that. But like you said, back in the 90s, I would go in the tanning bed to get a base so that I didn't burn before vacation. We thought we were doing healthy things or whatever we thought we were doing back then. We had no idea. And it's just changed so much. And I live and breathe by self tanner now. I have all different kinds and I'm always kind of doing that and it looks good and you learn how to do it and I think it looks great. So I love that.
Absolutely. I use every kind. I have my own industrial like spray tan gun, but I also have the foams and the lotions. So just try new things and see what you like. And or if you can embrace a fairer skin tone. I know my dermatologist, she is beautiful and
Mhm.
she just embraces it. For me, I just feel more confident with a glow and I found products that I like. But what you were talking about with a base tan, people
Mhm.
are still doing that, by the way. That
Really?
is not an old trend. People are still
Wow.
doing this. And unfortunately, a lot of tanning salons, they're now marketing as wellness centers.
Mhm.
And there's some really dangerous misconceptions about what they're doing at their businesses and sunscreen and it being toxic and things like that. There's a lot of dangerous misconceptions and vernacular circulating, and that's what I'm here to talk about. Because if sunscreen causes skin cancer, then I would not have had it on my leg because I
Right.
never wore sunscreen on my leg.
Mhm. And I love that you said too while you're driving. So I think this is something that I'm constantly on my husband, first of all, because he's got a bald head and his ears. I'm constantly telling him you've got to put sunscreen on every day, no matter if it's sunny, no matter if it's cloudy. But I love that you brought up while driving because there's been studies done of people with the UV exposure on like the left side from being in the driver's seat and what it looks like on this side of their face. And it just goes to show you that the damage that is being done even if we think we're in the car with tinted windows, we're still having that exposure. And we might think we're not in the sun, but really you should be wearing sunscreen every single day.
Absolutely. I think it just needs to become part of our daily routine. I know as women, it's like, oh, another step,
I know.
but just make it part of that. I have found I have so many like samples on my desk right now that I'm looking at of different sunscreens and skincare that have SPF protection in them. There's powders that you could do on your hairline. I know I will get burnt right
Mhm.
here on my
Yes,
part.
every time.
Yes, that is how fair my skin is. There is a UPF protected clothing. I try to have like a jacket or something that has UPF 50 on it, which means it will protect you from the sun in my car. So I'll slip it on if I'm in the car or my kids, I could throw their pants on. But yeah, we just make that part of our day. You brush your teeth and you put on your sunscreen because
Love that.
unfortunately my kids got my fair skin.
I have this idea. I want to create like a shower oil that has SPF in it that you just like, you get on, you put it on before you exit the shower and it's like easy to like, get on and then it's on for the day.
That
I have
would
no
be
idea how that would work,
interesting.
but I feel like
Yeah,
it'd be so much easier.
I wonder how it would react with water because I
Yeah,
know sunscreen, by the way, it's water resistant, not waterproof, which is why
right.
you have to reapply it after 90 minutes. But
Mhm.
that would be, I'm sure we'll get there. There's so
One
much
day.
amazing research going
Mhm.
into not only cancer treatments, but
Mhm.
prevention. So I'm sure we'll get there one day. I do love the powders though, especially for my boys. They're 2 and 4 now, and they don't want me to put lotion on their face. So I just have to let them scream while I do it
Yeah.
for their good. But yeah, your hands don't neglect your hands. As
Mhm.
again with women, a lot of times you could tell our age by our hands, and
Mhm.
I definitely feel that. So make sure you protect your hands as well, especially in the car. I always have little tubes of sunscreen in my bag and things like
Mhm.
that. So just making those little habits, little changes. You're not going to be perfect. Gosh knows I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm in the garden a little longer than I should have been without sunscreen on.
Mhm.
It's going to happen and that's okay. But making those good habits so that cumulative damage does not turn into skin cancer is really what's going to help you prevent it.
It's so funny. So actually what I have on right now isn't even foundation. It's the Skin Better Science SPF, the compact. And I get compliments on my foundation sometimes because this is what I wear like on a normal basis. And they're like, I love your foundation. I'm like, thanks, it's sunscreen. That's all it is.
Yes.
Sunscreen.
My primer has SPF 40 in it, and it's
Perfect.
the Tizo primer and mineral sunscreen, and it's like tinted. And I
Hmm.
have very oily, uneven skin, and my skin tone is very uneven, so it evens out my skin tone. It makes it look nice, and it is now my favorite primer. Whether I'm outside or not, I use
Hmm.
it. So even
I
if
love
you're
that.
reading a book by a window, you're still getting, you're getting
That
UV
exposure.
damage.
Right.
Yeah.
So, can we talk a little bit about doing pageantry and being extra? I've had this question a lot personally, and this is why I kind of wanted to bring this up to you. Is we both have careers, right? We have families. We are doing pageantry. You have children. How do you manage it all, and how do you do that on a daily basis?
If you figure it out, let me know. I, you know that meme that says, I'm very tired all the time. I feel like that, but truly, I have never felt in a better position than I do right now
Mhm.
to serve my community because of the support of my family. My husband is my biggest supporter, of course, my biggest cheerleader. He loves to see the wonderful work I'm doing and be alongside me with it. And that's something I also love about the international organization is that they include our husbands.
Mhm.
They walk us on stage for evening gown and they're a part of this family. He is Mr. Texas. So
Love that.
I, while I am wearing a lot of hats and I'm juggling a lot, I have to be very intentional about my
Yeah.
time. I have a calendar right behind my monitor right here that I fill out every month with all my appearances, that's my pageant calendar, my webinars, interviews, things like that. And then I just have to be very intentional about inviting my husband on the calendar invite so he knows you have to be home.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
not going out with the boys, you're going to stay home. So, really, just being intentional and organized. And sometimes you have a oh shoot moment
Mhm.
and you figure it out because you're a family. So I'm very grateful for him. His parents are wonderful. He's the youngest of six kids, so he has a
Wow.
lot of siblings that help with their kids, and so it just takes a tribe and people who support you and back you. And I've never had more of that than I do right now.
I love that you say that. And we had this conversation briefly before I started recording, but I'll kind of touch on it again, is that both of us, I think, feel this way in Mrs. Pageantry. We have a bigger support system. At least I know I have definitely have a bigger support system than I had in Miss. And my parents always supported me doing pageantry and things like that. But when you have your husband and that just that core nucleus of being there for you, being your biggest cheerleader, and I feel like that has been huge for me going into the Mrs. pageantry. And I love the just Mrs. in general because it's women that have all of these things happening, right? We have families, we have husbands, we have things that we've been through. And I think that that's so important that we can make such a difference that age doesn't matter. In a lot of the Miss pageants, you age out very early. I think, it used to be what, 27 for Miss America? I can't remember, 27 or 28. And that's
Yeah,
so young. And I love that Mrs. Pageantry brings the relevance back in because it doesn't matter how old you are. You can still make a difference. You can still make an impact. You can still help your community. And I think that's what both of us are doing. And I absolutely love that so much. And that we've connected for all these
absolutely.
years too. Like what, 10
I
years?
know. 10 years ago, you guys, we competed, or 11 years ago, we competed in a pageant together.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like another lifetime. But I've
It really
always
does.
done pageants on my own. My family, like you said, your family, they support me and everything, but I always funded myself.
Mhm.
I I just kind of did it all on my own. And if I could hire a coach, great. If not, then I was going to get on stage anyway. And now I just feel like I have such a support system behind me that I didn't have before that are more active in that process.
Yeah.
And it's not that my family didn't want to be, we were just far away from each other and they weren't part of this world. So
Mhm.
it truly is, I've never been more connected to my platform. And
Mhm.
even that only developed in the last 2 years.
Right.
So when I talk to younger women and they're developing with the Miss America system, their CSI or your platform, it's
Mhm.
okay if it changes and evolves
Yes.
because you change and evolve, and that you should. And that's great. So I have never felt more empowered and confident in who I am and more beautiful than I do now. And I can't wait to bring that to the international stage and be surrounded by other people who feel the same way.
So I get this question a lot with my friends that have never done pageantry or don't really understand it. And they, for some reason, think that pageantry is like catty, or they're like, but you're going to compete against these other women. Like, what do you mean you become friends? I'm like, seriously, I've made friends and have stayed friends with people for years and years and years. And for example, us, right? Like, just because we competed against each other, like, I don't look at it like that at all. And when I got back into, because I took a little hiatus when I moved to Tennessee, but when I got back into pageantry, people were like, I don't really get it. And I'm like, I want to be in a room surrounded by women that are, like you said, intentional, that want to do big things, that want to do great things. And just being surrounded by that is what's the best thing about it. It's just having that intentionality and being able to lift each other up, like now I get to support what you're doing and you get to support what I'm doing and we can bring that to even greater audiences.
I think, especially too, as grown women with families and lives, not that you're not grown as a miss, but it's just you have a different perspective on life. And I think we all walk into a pageant knowing there's one winner
Hmm.
and it might not be your day, and that's okay. But what we're doing is so much bigger than this.
Hmm.
And I know, at least for Mrs. International, the pageant week starts right after the Melanoma Research Foundation is having a 5K in Chicago in the same town. So I
Wow.
was able to get some of the women together to fly in a little early for this 5K to support melanoma research. And I'm like, this is going to be the perfect start because it's going to ground us and remind us that this is why we're doing this
Hmm.
and
Exactly.
interacting with people. And it's not for the dresses and all of that is so much fun. Don't get me wrong. As a mom and someone who is always trying to keep my home together, and I'm sure you can relate to this, it's so nice to go and get glam and
I
feel
love it.
beautiful. It's so wonderful to take a break and kind of live this fantasy life for a couple weeks. But I'm
Mhm.
so excited that I get to bring these women and kind of ground all of us before we start competing, because that is really why we're there. It's so much
Yes.
bigger than us, it's so much bigger than a crown or a title, because I'm going to do all of that anyway.
Mhm.
And I think most of us would.
Yes.
So I agree with you. The people that don't get it, they've never seen one or they've never been involved. And I would encourage them to meet more women in pageants, because I guarantee they are CEOs, they are bosses, and they're incredible women who have done incredible things. And I guarantee they know a pageant girl that is incredible and just don't even know she's a pageant girl.
That's so true. I actually just figured this out the other day. There's another realtor in town who I've always admired, and from afar, I've not really interacted with her a ton, but I've always admired her from afar. And I found out recently that she was a former pageant queen, and I'm like, well, that's why. Like,
Of
it just
course she was.
So it's just so funny how it is true. You don't realize it sometimes too. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so I want to pivot a little bit. We have 7 minutes left. The time always goes so quickly on these.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about the basis of BoldHER Truth. So I started BoldHER Truth just out of kind of like you said, it evolved based on something that happened to me and my own story. I was dealing with breast implant illness. I had miscarriages. Went through IVF, and this was kind of a course of 8, 9 years that I went through this, and I started realizing that as I told my story, it helped others, and not and having the bravery to share my story was hard at first, but the more that I do it, the more I feel like I heal a little bit myself. And you're so inspiring that you have been sharing your story all over. You're not afraid to share your scar and just all of the things that you've been through. And I admire that so much. And so, on the basis of BoldHER Truth, I guess my question to you would be, what would you tell your younger self before you got diagnosed? If you could go back in time and like visit your 18-year-old self, would you give yourself any advice as a younger woman, just in general?
Absolutely. I wish I could talk to her and get through to her, but I know that I probably wouldn't have gotten through to her. But I wish, first of all, she needs a hug,
Hmm.
and a real hug. And she needs to know that it is okay to just be who you are.
Yes.
I spent so many years trying to fit in a mold, whether that was friendships or what I thought I was supposed to be. And I wish I just would have been myself more. The quirky parts of me, the
Hmm.
clumsy parts of me, all of those are okay and they're human. And while I do wish I could tell her to stop using the tanning beds and take care of her skin and wear sunscreen, I would just tell her that it is okay to be you.
I love
And
that.
I hope that that would resonate.
Hmm. I feel that to my core because I think for a long time, up until probably even last year, to be honest with you, and I turned 35 this year, so up until the 30s, I felt like I had to be what I thought everyone wanted me to be. When I became a realtor, I felt like I had to fit into this realtor box. When did I don't know. When I got married, I had to fit into the wife box. For some reason, I always felt my whole life that I had to step into a role. And instead of just living, like you said, authentically true to yourself, and then that's what's going to fulfill you most is being quirky, being yourself, being what you want to be, and not trying to fit into what you think some people want you to be.
And it'll make you so much happier.
Amen
And
to
you'll find the people that love you for who you are. And yeah, I think all of us kind of have that moment where the light bulb goes off and you realize how you should treat yourself
that. Hmm.
and appreciate those parts of yourself that make you different. Because like a lot of people wouldn't know about me is I love scary movies. And I would have never told someone that when I was younger because I thought it was weird. And I find like ghost stories and stuff like that like so cool. And I want to, but
I
I would
love
have
it.
never shared that before.
Hmm.
Yeah. And now I love that about myself because I'm like a horror movie aficionado.
I love horror movies too. It's so fun to watch all of them.
I know. I can't wait for Backrooms. I'm excited to watch
Oh, I
that
haven't
one.
seen I haven't seen that. I need to look it up.
Yeah, go look it up. It looks interesting.
I love a good thriller too, like a good like
Ooh.
mystery thriller also is also my favorite kind of movie to
Oh
watch.
yeah.
So, I guess one more question before we wrap it up. It kind of repeats, but what would you consider to be your bold her truth, and what would you want someone watching this to take away from the interview? Even if they could just take away one little tidbit, what would you want them to walk away with?
This goes for anybody, anytime. You are worth the time, trouble, and investment of your health.
Mhm.
Make the appointment, pay the copay. It is worth it and it can save your life.
I'm literally going to hang up and make that dermatology appointment because I feel so guilty that we did this interview and I've been
No,
talking about making an appointment for literally a year. So you've
look,
inspired me.
life happens. I have nothing but grace to give. I will check in on you in a few months to make sure you did it.
Yeah.
But I realize like life gets in the way. There are years where I'm like, did I get my teeth cleaned this year?
Right.
And that's okay. It happens. Just do it when you can and don't let it go too long because
Hmm.
at that point it might be too late.
Absolutely. Well, Dawn, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we got to do this today. I can't wait to post it and share with everyone. And you'll have to keep us updated on your experience at Mrs. International because I'm very, very excited to follow your journey.
Likewise, yes, we'll have a lot to catch up on in
Yes,
August.
absolutely. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
All right.